In the heart of Georgia's elite society, Camille Davenport has everything money can buy, except the freedom to choose her own destiny. Engaged to the powerful Nathaniel Rhodes in a marriage that's more business merger than love story, she finds herself trapped by family expectations and Southern traditions. But when she falls deeply in love with Malik Turner, a former Navy veteran working at her family's stables, Camille must choose between the gilded cage of her privileged life and the authentic love that sets her soul on fire. This is a story of courage, forbidden romance, and the transformative power of choosing your heart over society's expectations. Before we start this story, comment below from where you're watching us. The morning sun shone through the large windows of the Davenport mansion. Camille sat at her vanity table, staring at her reflection. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless, but her blue eyes told a different story. Miss Camille, called Martha, the housekeeper who had been with the family since before Camille was born. Your mother wants you downstairs in 10 minutes. The wedding planner is here. Camille forced a smile. Thank you, Martha. I'll be right down. When Martha left, Camille's smile disappeared. She looked down at the diamond ring on her finger. It was beautiful, expensive, and felt like a handcuff. Nathaniel Rhodes had proposed 3 months ago at a charity gala hosted by her father. Everyone had applauded. The newspapers called it the union of two Southern dynasties. No one had asked Camille if she loved him. She didn't. Downstairs, Eleanor Davenport was examining fabric swatches with a thin woman whose glasses hung from a pearl chain around her neck. Camille, finally, Eleanor said when her daughter entered the room. Mrs. Holloway was just showing me the options for the table linens. I'm thinking the ivory with gold trim would complement the Rhodes family crest on the napkins. Whatever you think is best, Mother, Camille said. Eleanor gave her a sharp look. This is your wedding, Camille. You should have an opinion. Camille wanted to say her opinion was that there shouldn't be a wedding at all, but she stayed silent. The ivory is lovely, she said instead. Wonderful, Mrs. Holloway said, making a note in her planner. Now, about the seating arrangements. Camille stopped listening. Through the window, she could see the stables in the distance, and a figure moving between the buildings. Malik, excuse me, Camille said suddenly. I just remembered I promised Daddy I'd check on his new mare, the one with the sore hoof. Before Eleanor could object, Camille was out the door. The air felt fresher as she walked away from the house. Camille slowed her pace, not wanting to appear too eager. She had changed into boots and jeans, clothes her mother disapproved of, but that her father allowed because a Davenport should know horses. As she approached the stables, she heard Malik's deep voice talking softly to one of the horses. That's it, girl. You're doing just fine. Camille paused at the entrance, watching him. Malik Turner stood over 6 feet tall, his body strong from years of physical work. His dark skin contrasted with the white t-shirt he wore. 3 years ago, he had shown up looking for work after serving in the Navy. Her father had hired him on the spot, impressed by his knowledge of horses. Hi, she said. Malik turned, his expression guarded until he saw it was her. Then his eyes softened just slightly. Miss Davenport, he said formally. Camille looked around. They were alone. It's just Camille, remember? He nodded, a small smile touching his lips. Camille, your father's mare is doing better. The swelling's gone down. I didn't really come to check on the mare, she admitted. Their eyes met, and for a moment, neither spoke. You shouldn't be here, Malik said finally. If someone sees. I don't care, Camille said, though they both knew it wasn't true. She did care. She had to. Wedding plans going well? He asked, his voice carefully neutral as he turned back to brushing the horse. If by well, you mean my mother and Mrs. Rhodes are planning every detail of my life for the next 50 years, then yes, very well. Malik didn't respond. He didn't need to. He was the only person who truly listened to her. Can we go riding tomorrow? She asked. Early, before anyone's awake. He hesitated. Camille, please, Malik. I need to get away, even if it's just for an hour. He looked at her then, really looked at her, and nodded. Sunrise. I'll have the horses ready. Camille smiled, her first genuine smile of the day. Thank you. That night, Camille couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned, thinking about the morning, about Malik, about the freedom she felt only when she was with him. Her phone buzzed. A text from Nathaniel. Had dinner with the governor tonight. Mentioned our wedding. He might come. Good publicity for your father's campaign. Camille didn't reply. She never knew what to say to Nathaniel. Their conversations were always about business, connections, appearances. Never about dreams or fears or favorite books. Never about love. At 5 a.m., her alarm went off. Camille dressed quickly in the dark, pulling on riding pants and a light sweater. She crept down the back stairs, careful to avoid the second step that always creaked. Outside, the world was still and quiet. The grass was wet with dew as she made her way to the stables. Malik was waiting, 2 horses saddled and ready. "Morning," he said softly. "Morning," she replied, suddenly shy. They rode in silence at first, through the meadow and into the woods that marked the edge of Davenport property. The sun was just beginning to rise, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. "I used to dream about traveling," Camille said suddenly as they reached a clearing. "When I was little, I had this book about faraway places. I wanted to see them all." "What happened to that dream?" Malik asked. Camille shrugged. "Life happened. Expectations happened. The Davenport name happened." "You're still young," Malik said. "Dreams don't have expiration dates." She looked at him. "Did you always want to work with horses?" He shook his head. "No, but after the Navy, I needed peace. Horses give me that." "What did you want to be?" she asked. "A teacher," he said. "History. I love stories from the past." Camille could imagine it. Malik in a classroom, passionate about the lessons of history, inspiring students. It suited him better than mucking out stables for rich people who barely noticed him. "You still could be," she said. He gave her a look that was both gentle and sad. Some dreams are harder to reach than others. They fell silent again, but it was a comfortable silence. They rode to the small lake on the far side of the property, dismounting to let the horses drink. "Tell me about your favorite place," Camille said, sitting on a fallen log. "Somewhere you saw during your Navy days." Malik thought for a moment. There was this beach in Spain. Not a tourist spot, just a little cove with the clearest water I've ever seen. I swam there one afternoon when we had shore leave. It felt like being in another world. "I've never been to Spain," Camille said. "Maybe someday," Malik replied, then caught himself. I know what you mean," she said quietly. Their eyes met again, and this time, neither looked away. Camille felt her heart beating faster. "Camille," Malik said, his voice low. "We can't." "Can't what?" she challenged, standing up. He didn't answer, but she could see the conflict in his eyes. "We should head back," he said finally. "Your family will be waking up soon." The ride back was quieter, heavier with unspoken words. As they approached the stables, Camille saw a car she didn't recognize parked near the house. "Nathaniel," she said with a sinking feeling. "He wasn't supposed to come until next week." Malik's expression closed off immediately. "You should go. I'll take care of the horses." "Malik, go." "Camille," he said firmly. "Please." She nodded, dismounting quickly and handing him the reins. Their fingers brushed, and she felt that same jolt she always did when they touched. "Thank you for this morning," she said. He nodded once, already turning away. Camille hurried back to the house, slipping in through the kitchen door. Martha was at the stove, cooking breakfast. "There you are," she exclaimed. "Your mother's been looking everywhere for you." Mr. Rhodes arrived early. "They're in the sitting room." "I was just getting some air," Camille said, brushing past her. "Tell them I'll be down after I change." Upstairs, Camille quickly showered and put on a sundress her mother had bought her. She applied makeup, fixed her hair, and tried to calm her racing heart. When she entered the sitting room, all eyes turned to her. "There's my beautiful fiancé," Nathaniel said, standing to kiss her cheek. Nathaniel Rhodes was handsome in a polished way. Tall, with perfectly styled brown hair and teeth that had been expensively straightened. He wore a light blue button-down shirt and khaki pants. Casual but still impeccable. "Nathaniel," Camille said with a practiced smile. "What a surprise. I wrapped up my meetings in Atlanta early and thought, why not come see my bride-to-be?" He put his arm around her waist, his grip a little too tight. "Isn't that thoughtful?" Eleanor said, beaming at them. Nathaniel has some wonderful news. The resort in Savannah, Nathaniel explained. The deal went through. The Rhodes Company now owns the largest beachfront property in the county. Congratulations, Camille said automatically. Our congratulations, Charles Davenport corrected, entering the room. Camille's father was tall and imposing, with gray hair and the confident air of a man used to being obeyed. Once you two are married, the Davenport shipping interests and the Rhodes real estate empire will be united. This is just the beginning. Camille felt a cold knot in her stomach. That's all this marriage was, a business merger. Nathaniel is staying for the weekend, Eleanor announced. I've asked Martha to prepare the guest room, and I've invited some friends over for dinner tonight, Nathaniel added, to celebrate our engagement and the new deal. How lovely, Camille said, feeling trapped. Later that afternoon, Camille escaped to the garden, needing a moment alone. She sat on a stone bench, hidden from view by a large magnolia tree. You look like you're hiding, came a voice. Camille looked up to see Malik standing a few feet away, a toolbox in his hand. I am, she admitted. What's your excuse? Broken fence by the rose garden, he said, holding up the toolbox. Your father asked me to fix it before the dinner party. Camille nodded. Nathaniel brought friends. Important people who might invest in the new resort. Sound exciting, Malik said, but his tone was flat. It's awful, Camille whispered. They all talk about money and connections and politics. No one ever talks about anything real. Malik set down his toolbox and took a step closer. What's real, Camille? She looked up at him, her heart in her eyes. This. You. The way I feel when I'm with you. He closed his eyes briefly. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. Because it doesn't matter if it's true, he said, his voice pained. Look at your life, Camille. Look at mine. We're from different worlds. I don't care about that, she insisted. But everyone else does, Malik replied. Your parents, your fiancé, this whole town. Do you know what would happen if? If what? She pressed when he didn't continue. Their eyes met again, and the air between them seemed to crackle with tension. If I told you I think about you every minute of every day, he said, his voice barely audible. If I told you that when I close my eyes at night, I see your smile. Camille felt tears well up. Malik, I should go, he said, picking up his toolbox again. That fence won't fix itself. Will you be at the stables tomorrow morning? She asked. He hesitated, then nodded once before walking away. Camille watched him go, her heart both soaring and breaking. That evening, the Davenport mansion was filled with Georgia's elite. Politicians, businessmen, old money families, all gathered to celebrate Nathaniel's new acquisition and, by extension, his upcoming marriage to Camille. Camille stood by Nathaniel's side, smiling until her face hurt. She wore a designer dress in pale blue, her hair arranged in an elegant updo. She looked every inch the perfect Southern belle, the ideal wife for an ambitious man. Camille is graduating from Emory next month. Eleanor was telling the wife of a state senator. Top of her class in business administration. How impressive, the woman said. And then the wedding in October? Yes, at St. John's Cathedral, Eleanor confirmed. We've already booked the governor's mansion for the reception. Camille sipped her champagne, feeling invisible despite being the center of attention. Across the room, through the French doors that led to the garden, she caught a glimpse of a figure walking past. Malik. He was probably heading home to the small apartment above the garage that came with his job. Excuse me, she said to no one in particular, setting down her glass. I need some air. Before anyone could stop her, Camille slipped out into the garden. The night air was warm and heavy with the scent of jasmine. Malik, she called softly, following the path toward the garage. He stopped and turned. You should go back inside, Camille. They'll notice you're gone. I can't breathe in there, she said, moving closer to him. I can't be who they want me to be. Who do you want to be? He asked. The question hung between them in the darkness. Someone brave, she said finally. Someone who follows her heart instead of her family's expectations. He was silent for a long moment. And what does your heart tell you? Camille took another step toward him. They were standing very close now, close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes, even in the dim light. It tells me that I've never felt this way before, she whispered. About anyone. Malik reached out slowly, his hand hovering near her face as if afraid to touch her. Then, gently, he brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. The touch sent shivers down Camille's spine. "We shouldn't," he said, but he didn't move away. "I know," she replied. And then, as if drawn by a force neither could resist, they leaned toward each other. Their lips met in a kiss that was soft at first, then deepened with all the longing they'd been holding back. Malik's arms went around her waist, pulling her closer. Camille's hands found their way to his shoulders, his neck, his face. For one perfect moment, the world disappeared. There was no engagement, no class difference, no expectations. Just Camille and Malik and the truth of what they felt for each other. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. "Camille!" Eleanor's voice called from the direction of the house. "Camille, where are you? Nathaniel is looking for you." Reality crashed back like a wave. "Go," Malik said urgently, stepping back. "Go now." Camille hesitated, wanting to stay, knowing she couldn't. "Tomorrow," she whispered. "Sunrise." He nodded, his eyes never leaving hers as she turned and hurried back toward the party and the life that was closing in around her. As she reached the edge of the garden, Camille paused and looked back. Malik still stood there, watching her go, his figure silhouetted against the night. In that moment, Camille knew that whatever happened next, her heart had already made its choice, even if she had to keep that choice in silence. The weeks that followed were the happiest and most terrifying of Camille's life. Every morning at sunrise, she would sneak out to meet Malik at the stables. They would ride together through the misty fields, talking about everything and nothing. Sometimes they would stop by the lake, watching the sun climb higher in the sky. "Tell me about your family," Camille said one morning as they sat on the shore, their horses grazing nearby. Malik looked out over the water. "My mom raised me alone in Savannah. She cleaned houses for rich folks to put me through school. Worked herself to the bone." "Is she still in Savannah?" He shook his head. "She passed away while I was in the Navy. Cancer." Camille reached for his hand. "I am sorry." "She would have liked you," he said softly. "She always said a person's heart matters more than their bank account." "I wish I could have met her," Camille said. These quiet moments were stolen treasures, hidden from a world that would never understand. Back at the mansion, wedding preparations were moving full speed ahead. Eleanor had taken over Camille's life, filling her days with fittings and tastings and endless decisions about flowers and music and table settings. "The Rhodes family expects perfection," she reminded Camille daily. "This wedding will cement your father's position in the governor's race." Charles Davenport was planning to run for governor the following year. The alliance with the Rhodes family, with their money and connections, was a key part of his strategy. Nathaniel visited every weekend, bringing expensive gifts and discussing their future as if it were a business plan. "We'll spend summers at the Savannah house," he said one evening as they sat on the veranda after dinner. "It's close enough to the new resort that I can keep an eye on operations, but far enough away to maintain privacy." "Sounds nice," Camille said, not really listening. She was watching the distant figure of Malik checking the fences before heading home for the night. "Are you even paying attention?" Nathaniel asked sharply. Camille turned to him, startled. "Of course. Summers in Savannah." Nathaniel studied her face. "You've been distracted lately. Your mother says you disappear for hours." "I go riding," Camille said, her heart beating faster. "It helps me clear my head." "Alone?" "Yes," she lied, hating herself for it. Nathaniel reached out and took her hand, his grip firm. "Camille, I know you're nervous about the wedding, but this union is bigger than just us. Our families are counting on this." "I know," she said, the words sticking in her throat. "Good," he said, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Because I would hate for anything to interfere with our plans." Something in his tone made Camille shiver. That night, she couldn't sleep. She got up and went to her desk, pulling out the leather journal her grandmother had given her for her birthday. She began to write. "I never knew it was possible to feel this way. When I'm with him, I forget who I'm supposed to be. I forget the name, the money, the expectations. I'm just me, and he's just him, and that's enough. Today, by the cypress trees, he told me I should be free to choose my own story. No one has ever said that to me before. No one has ever seen me as anything but a Davenport, a legacy to be continued. If I were brave, I would run away with him. We could go anywhere, start over. But I'm afraid. Afraid of losing everything I've ever known. Afraid of what they would do to him. Still, when he kissed me today, I knew my heart has made its choice. Camille closed the journal and hid it under her mattress. Then she went to the window, looking out at the night sky and wondering if Malik was awake too, thinking of her. The next day, Camille was having lunch with her mother when Eleanor dropped a bombshell. "I've decided to move the wedding up," she announced, buttering a roll. "August instead of October." Camille nearly choked on her tea. What? The governor is traveling abroad in October. If we want him at the wedding, it has to be August. But that's only 6 weeks away. Eleanor waved a dismissive hand. "Everything's already in motion. The invitations go out tomorrow." "Mother, I don't think—" "Camille," Eleanor interrupted, her voice sharp. "This is not up for discussion. Your father's campaign announcement is in September. He needs to present a united front, with his daughter happily married to Nathaniel Rhodes by his side." Camille felt the walls closing in. 6 weeks. In 6 weeks, she would be Mrs. Nathaniel Rhodes, trapped forever in a loveless marriage. As soon as lunch was over, Camille hurried to the stables, desperate to find Malik. He was in the tack room, cleaning saddles. "They moved up the wedding," she blurted out, closing the door behind her. 6 weeks from now. Malik set down the saddle soap, his face grave. "I see. That's all you have to say?" Camille asked, tears filling her eyes. "I see." He crossed the room to her in 2 strides, taking her hands in his. "What do you want me to say, Camille? That we should run away together? That love conquers all?" "Yes," she whispered. "Say that." Malik's eyes were pained. "You know it's not that simple." "Why not?" she demanded. "People fall in love and choose each other every day. People like you don't choose people like me," he said gently. "Not in this world. Not in this town. I don't care about this town. But you care about your family," he pointed out. "Your father's career. The life you've always known." Camille couldn't deny it. As much as she resented the expectations placed on her, she loved her parents. And the thought of leaving behind everything familiar terrified her. "So what do we do?" she asked, her voice small. Malik pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her. "I don't know," he admitted. "I just know that these moments with you, they're worth whatever comes next." Camille buried her face in his chest, breathing in his scent of hay and sunshine and saddle leather. "I can't marry him, Malik. I can't." He stroked her hair, saying nothing because there was nothing to say. That evening, a thunderstorm rolled in. Rain lashed against the windows of the mansion as the Davenports and Nathaniel sat in the dining room, discussing wedding details. "The Rhodes family minister will perform the ceremony, of course," Nathaniel was saying. "It's a tradition going back generations." Camille pushed food around her plate, barely listening. "Camille," her father said. "Nathaniel asked you a question." She looked up. "I'm sorry, what?" Nathaniel's smile was tight. "I asked if you've decided on your something borrowed yet." "My mother has offered her pearl earrings." "That's very kind," Camille said. "But Grandmother Davenport already promised me her sapphire bracelet." "The pearls would look better with the dress," Eleanor insisted. "It's just a tradition, Mother," Camille said, her patience wearing thin. "Does it really matter?" Eleanor's eyes widened at her daughter's tone. "Of course it matters. Every detail matters." "To who?" Camille asked. "To the society photographers? To your friends at the country club?" "Camille," Charles warned. "No, Dad. I want to know, who are we doing all this for?" "Because it certainly isn't for me." A tense silence fell over the table. Nathaniel broke it with a forced laugh. "Wedding jitters. Perfectly normal." "This isn't wedding jitters," Camille said, standing up. "This is me wondering why I'm letting everyone else decide my life for me." "Camille," Eleanor gasped. "I need some air," Camille said, throwing her napkin down and walking out. She didn't care that it was pouring rain. She needed to get away, to think, to breathe. Without grabbing a coat, she ran outside, the rain immediately soaking her dress. She headed for the stables, drawn there like a magnet. The lights were on in Malik's apartment above the garage. Before she could think better of it, Camille climbed the outside stairs and knocked on his door. Malik opened it, surprised to find her there, dripping wet and shivering. "Camille, what happened?" he asked, pulling her inside. "I can't do it anymore," she said, her voice breaking. "I can't pretend." Malik grabbed a towel from his bathroom and wrapped it around her shoulders. "You're freezing." "I don't care," she said, looking up at him with desperate eyes. "Malik, let's leave. Tonight. Now." He stared at her. "What? We could go anywhere. Start over. Just you and me." Malik guided her to his small couch, sitting beside her. "Camille, you're upset. You're not thinking clearly." "I've never thought more clearly," she insisted. "I love you, Malik. I want to be with you." The words hung in the air between them. It was the first time either had said out loud. Malik's expression softened. He reached out to touch her face. "I love you too, more than I should." "Then why can't we be together?" "Because running away doesn't solve anything," he said. "Your family would never stop looking for you. And when they found us, and they would, I'd be the black man who stole the Davenport heiress. Do you know what they'd do to me?" Camille hadn't thought that far ahead. The reality of what Malik was saying hit her hard. "So we're just supposed to give up?" she asked, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't say that," Malik replied. "But we need to be smart. Careful." He pulled her close, and she rested her head on his shoulder. For a long while, they just sat there, listening to the rain pound on the roof. "Stay with me tonight," Malik whispered. Camille looked up at him. "They'll be looking for me." "Let them look," he said, his eyes dark with emotion. "Just for tonight, let's pretend the world outside doesn't exist." Their lips met in a kiss that started gentle but quickly became hungry, desperate. Months of longing, of holding back, of stolen moments. All of it poured into this one perfect connection. Malik's hands trembled as they moved to the zipper of her wet dress. "Are you sure?" he asked. Camille had never been more sure of anything in her life. "Yes," she whispered. That night, in Malik's small bed, they found a freedom neither had known before. Every touch, every kiss was a promise, a declaration. For those precious hours, there was no Davenport legacy, no Rhodes alliance, no societal boundaries. There was only Camille and Malik, discovering each other in the most intimate way. Afterward, they lay wrapped in each other's arms, Camille's head on Malik's chest, listening to his heartbeat. "I never knew it could be like this," she said softly. He kissed the top of her head. "Like what?" "It's all right," she said. "Like coming home." Malik's arms tightened around her. "You're my home, Camille. Wherever you are, that's where I belong." As dawn approached, reality began to creep back in. "I should go," Camille said reluctantly. "Before the house wakes up." Malik nodded, though his eyes begged her to stay. "Tomorrow night?" "Tomorrow night," she promised, kissing him one more time before pulling on her now dry dress. The rain had stopped, and the world was washed clean as Camille made her way back to the mansion. She slipped in through the kitchen door, hoping to make it upstairs unnoticed. But Eleanor was waiting in the hallway, still in her clothes from the night before. Her face was pale with anger. "Where were you?" she demanded. "I needed time alone," Camille said, trying to keep her voice steady. "To think. All night? In a storm?" Eleanor's eyes narrowed. "Do you have any idea what you've put us through? Your father has men searching the property. Nathaniel is beside himself." Guilt stabbed at Camille. "I'm sorry. I fell asleep in the old guest house. I should have called." Eleanor studied her daughter's face. "You're lying to me." "Mother, don't," Eleanor snapped. "Don't insult me by continuing this charade. You were with someone." Camille felt her blood run cold. "What are you talking about?" "A mother knows," Eleanor said. "The question is who? Who has turned my sensible daughter into this? This reckless girl I don't recognize." "There's no one," Camille insisted. "I just needed space." Eleanor looked unconvinced but seemed too tired to argue further. "Go upstairs and change. Your father and Nathaniel will be back soon. We'll say you went to a friend's house and forgot to call." Camille nodded, relieved for the reprieve, however temporary. In her room, she quickly showered and changed, trying to wash away the evidence of her night with Malik. But she couldn't wash away the memory of his touch, his voice, his love. Nor could she wash away the fear that had taken root in her heart. Her mother suspected something. How long before she discovered the truth? Downstairs, Camille found her father and Nathaniel in the study. Both men looked up when she entered. "There she is," Charles said, his relief evident. "Safe and sound." Nathaniel's expression was harder to read. "You had us worried sick, Camille." "I'm sorry," she said, the lie coming easier this time. "I went to Lisa's house to clear my head, and we got to talking. With the storm, I decided to stay over. I should have called." Charles nodded, accepting her explanation. "Well, no harm done, though I'd appreciate a phone call next time you decide to disappear." "Of course, Daddy," Camille said, giving him a kiss on the cheek. Nathaniel still watched her, something calculating in his gaze. "Lisa Hamilton?" he asked. Camille nodded. "We were roommates freshman year at Emory." "Interesting," Nathaniel said, "because I called the Hamilton house last night looking for you. Their housekeeper said Lisa is in Europe for the summer." Camille felt the blood drain from her face. I meant Sarah. Sarah Thompson. I always mix them up." Nathaniel's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Of course. Easy mistake." The tension in the room was unbearable. "Well," Charles said, oblivious to the undercurrents, "the important thing is you're home now, and just in time. The wedding coordinator will be here in an hour to discuss the change of date." Camille nodded numbly, feeling Nathaniel's eyes boring into her. As the days passed, Camille felt like she was living two lives. During the day, she was the dutiful daughter, going through the motions of wedding preparations. At night, she would sneak out to meet Malik, finding in his arms the only peace she knew. They were careful. They met in different places, the old guest house, the boat shed by the lake, once even in town at a motel where no one would recognize them. But despite their precautions, Camille felt the noose tightening. Nathaniel had become watchful, suspicious. He would call at odd hours to check on her. He had even extended his weekend stays, claiming he wanted to be more involved in the wedding planning. "He knows something," Camille told Malik one night as they lay together in the guest house. "I can feel it." Malik stroked her hair. "Maybe we should cool things off for a while, just until after your father's campaign announcement." The thought of not seeing Malik, not touching him, not being with him, made Camille's chest tight with panic. "I can't," she whispered. "I need you too much." "I need you too," he said, kissing her softly. "But I'm worried, Camille. If they find out about us." "They won't," she promised. "We'll be more careful." But fate had other plans. The next morning, Camille was in her room, getting ready for yet another wedding dress fitting, when Eleanor burst in without knocking. Her mother's face was white with fury, her hand clutching a piece of paper. "What is this?" she demanded. Camille froze when she saw what Eleanor was holding. A page from her journal. The page where she had written about Malik, about her feelings for him. "Where did you get that?" Camille asked, her voice barely audible. "It was under your pillow," Eleanor said. "Martha found it when she was changing your sheets." Camille felt sick. She had been careless, leaving the journal where it could be found. "Who is he?" Eleanor demanded. "This man you've been sneaking around with? This man you claim to love?" Camille said nothing, her mind racing for a way out. "Answer me," Eleanor shouted. "It doesn't matter," Camille said finally. "It's over." "Over," Eleanor repeated incredulously. "You're engaged to Nathaniel Rhodes. The wedding is in a month. It should never have begun." Tears filled Camille's eyes. "I don't love Nathaniel, Mother. I never have." "Love," Eleanor scoffed. "What does love have to do with anything? This marriage is about securing our family's future, about your father's political career. Love can grow over time, or it can die," Camille said bitterly. "Like yours and Daddy's." Eleanor slapped her. The sound was sharp in the quiet room. "How dare you?" Eleanor hissed. "Everything I've done, everything your father and I have sacrificed, has been for you. For your future." Camille held her stinging cheek. "No, it's been for the Davenport name. I'm just a vessel." Eleanor paced the room, the journal page still clutched in her hand. "Who is he?" she asked again. "One of your college friends? That tennis instructor from the club?" Camille remained silent. Then Eleanor stopped suddenly, a look of horror crossing her face. "It's not. It can't be the stable hand?" The flicker of fear in Camille's eyes gave her away. "Oh my God," Eleanor whispered. "Malik Turner? You've been carrying on with the help." Don't call him that, Camille said fiercely. He's a good man, a kind man, a man who sees me for who I really am, not just what I can bring to some business deal disguised as a marriage. Eleanor sank into a chair, as if her legs could no longer hold her. This can't be happening. Not to our family. Not now. For a moment, Camille felt a flicker of compassion for her mother. Eleanor had been raised the same way she had, to put duty first, personal happiness second. "Mother," she said gently, kneeling beside the chair, "I never meant to hurt anyone, but I love him, and he loves me." Eleanor looked at her daughter, and for a brief moment, something like understanding passed between them. Then her expression hardened again. "Listen to me very carefully, Camille," she said, her voice cold. "This ends now. Today. You will never see that man again." "Mother!" "No." Eleanor cut her off. "You have a choice to make. In this affair, and marry Nathaniel as planned. Or be disowned, cut off from this family and everything that comes with the Davenport name." Camille stared at her in shock. "You wouldn't." "I would," Eleanor said, standing. "And that's not all. If you choose him over your family, over your obligations, I will make sure Malik Turner never works in this county again. In this state. Your father has friends in high places, Camille. One word from him, and that man's life will be destroyed." Fear, cold and paralyzing, gripped Camille's heart. "You can't do that." "Try me," Eleanor said, moving to the door. "You have until tonight to decide. End it with him, or lose everything. And watch him lose everything too." When Eleanor was gone, Camille collapsed on her bed, sobbing. The choice before her was impossible. Stay with Malik and watch his life be destroyed because of her, or let him go and live a life of quiet desperation with Nathaniel. There was no way out. That afternoon, Camille found Malik at the stables, fixing a broken stall door. When he saw her face, he immediately knew something was wrong. "What happened?" he asked, setting down his tools and coming to her. "They know," she said, her voice hollow. "My mother found a page from my journal. She knows about us." Malik's face paled. "What did she say?" Camille told him everything. The ultimatum, the threats, the choice she had to make. "She can't do that to you," Camille said, tears streaming down her face. "It's not fair." Malik took her hands in his. "Life rarely is, especially for people like me." "What do we do?" she asked, desperate for him to have an answer, a way out. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, his voice gentle but firm, he said, "You have to let me go, Camille." "No," she said, shaking her head. "No, I won't." "Listen to me," he said, cupping her face in his hands. "Your mother is right about one thing. I have nothing to offer you. No security, no status, nothing but my heart. That's all I want," Camille insisted. "Just you. Just us." "But at what cost?" Malik asked. "You would lose your family, your home, everything you've ever known. And for what? A life of struggle, of being ostracized, of watching doors close in your face because of who you chose to love. I don't care about any of that." "You say that now," he said sadly. "But you would. Eventually you would. So you're giving up?" Camille asked, anger mixing with her grief. Just like that, Malik's eyes were wet with unshed tears. "I'm setting you free, Camille, because I love you too much to watch you sacrifice everything for me. It's my choice to make," she said fiercely. "And it's my choice to save you from making it," he replied. He pulled her close one last time, holding her as if he could memorize the feel of her in his arms. "You deserve a good life, Camille Davenport. A full life. I can't give you that. Not in this world. Not in this time." "Malik, please," she begged. "Don't do this." He kissed her then, a kiss full of all the love and pain and goodbye neither wanted to say. When he pulled away, his resolve was clear in his eyes. "It's over," he said, the words clearly costing him. "Go back to your fiancé. Go back to your life." "I won't," Camille said stubbornly. "I'll come to you tonight. Like always." Malik shook his head. "I won't be here." "What do you mean?" "I'm leaving," he said. "Tonight. There's nothing for me here anymore." Camille felt as if the ground had dropped out from beneath her feet. "You can't leave." "Where will you go?" "I have a friend in Savannah who works at a horse rescue. He's been offering me a job for months." "But that's hours away," Camille said, panic rising in her throat. "That's the point," Malik said gently. "Clean break. For both of us." Camille couldn't believe what she was hearing. Malik was leaving. Leaving the estate, leaving Georgia. Leaving her. "Please don't go," she whispered, clinging to him. "We can figure this out." Malik held her tightly, his own tears finally falling. In another life, maybe, but not in this one. He stepped back, physically separating himself from her. "Goodbye, Camille. Be happy. That's all I want for you." And then he walked away, back to the stable, leaving Camille standing alone in the yard, her world crumbling around her. That night, Camille told her mother she had ended things with Malik. She said the words without emotion, like a robot programmed to say exactly what Eleanor wanted to hear. "You've made the right decision," Eleanor said, patting her hand. "You'll see. In time, this will all seem like a distant memory." Camille doubted that very much. The pain in her chest was too sharp, too real to ever fade to a memory. Later, from her bedroom window, she watched Malik load his few possessions into his old truck. He paused once, looking up at the mansion, as if he could feel her watching. Then he got in the truck and drove away, taking Camille's heart with him. She didn't cry. She was beyond tears now. She felt empty, hollow, like a ghost moving through the motions of a life that no longer belonged to her. The next morning, Eleanor found her sitting on the veranda, staring out at nothing. "Nathaniel will be here soon," she said briskly. "Try to look a bit more cheerful, dear. It's a beautiful day." Camille nodded mechanically. It didn't matter anymore. Nothing did. As her mother had predicted, the days turned into weeks. Wedding preparations continued. Camille went through the motions, saying yes and no when asked her opinion, trying on dresses, attending parties in her honor. But inside, she was dying a little more each day. At night, she would lie awake, remembering Malik's touch, his voice, his love, wondering where he was, if he was thinking of her too. 1 week before the wedding, Camille stood in front of the mirror in her bedroom, the white dress she would wear to become Mrs. Nathaniel Rhodes hanging behind her. She thought of Malik's words, "You should be free to choose your own story." And for the first time since he'd left, Camille felt something stir inside her. Not grief, not despair, determination. 5 days before the wedding, the Davenport mansion was a flurry of activity. Florists, caterers, decorators, and event planners streamed in and out, transforming the already elegant home into a fairy tale setting. Camille sat in her room, staring at her engagement ring. The diamond caught the light, throwing tiny rainbows across the wall. It was beautiful, expensive, cold, like her future. A knock at the door pulled her from her thoughts. "Come in," she called. Martha entered, carrying a stack of neatly folded linens. "Miss Eleanor asked me to bring up the new bedroom set she ordered for you and Mr. Rhodes for after the wedding." Camille nodded, watching as Martha placed the linens in the dresser. "Will there be anything else, Miss Camille?" Martha asked. "No, thank you," Camille said. Then, "Actually, Martha, have you heard anything from Malik since he left?" Martha hesitated. "Miss Eleanor asked us not to mention his name in this house." "I'm not asking what my mother said," Camille replied, her voice sharper than intended. "I'm asking if you've heard from him." The housekeeper's expression softened. "He called Joe in maintenance once. Said he was settling in at that horse rescue in Savannah. Haven't heard more than that." "Thank you," Camille said softly. When Martha left, Camille went to her window. From here, she could see the stables where she and Malik had spent so many hours together, where she had fallen in love, where she had felt, for the first time in her life, like a person and not a possession. "Miss Camille," Eleanor's voice carried up the stairs. "The videographer is here to discuss the wedding footage." Camille sighed. Another decision that wasn't really hers to make. Downstairs, Eleanor was in her element, directing people, approving arrangements, checking items off her meticulous lists. "There you are," she said when Camille appeared. "Mr. Weston wants to know if you'd prefer drone footage of the ceremony or traditional camera work." "Whichever you think is best, Mother," Camille said, the words automatic by now. Eleanor frowned. "Camille, this is your wedding. You should have an opinion." Camille almost laughed at the irony. Now her mother wanted her to have opinions. After a lifetime of being told exactly what to think, what to want, who to be. Drone footage sounds fine, she said, just end the conversation. Eleanor smiled, satisfied. Excellent choice. Very modern. The videographer, a middle-aged man in a blazer, nodded enthusiastically. We can get some spectacular aerial shots of the ceremony and the reception. Camille nodded, already tuning out as they discussed angles and lighting. Her mind was elsewhere. On Savannah, on a horse rescue, on Malik. The next day, Nathaniel arrived with his parents for the rehearsal dinner. The Rhodes family was staying at the mansion for the days leading up to the wedding. "Darling," Nathaniel said, kissing Camille's cheek as he entered. "You look lovely." Camille smiled mechanically. "Thank you. How was your trip?" "Productive," he said. "I closed the deal on that strip mall development in Atlanta. Prime location." "Congratulations," she said, not caring in the slightest. Nathaniel's parents, Richard and Constance Rhodes, were carbon copies of Charles and Eleanor. Wealthy, polished, concerned with appearances above all else. "Camille, dear," Constance said, air-kissing both of Camille's cheeks. "I brought the pearls for you to try with the dress." "Thank you, Mrs. Rhodes," Camille said politely. "That's very thoughtful." "Please, call me Mother Rhodes," the older woman said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "We're going to be family in just a few days." The thought made Camille's stomach turn. That evening, the rehearsal dinner was held at the country club. 50 of their closest friends, mostly business associates and political connections, gathered to toast the happy couple. Camille wore a cream-colored dress that Eleanor had chosen, her hair styled in an elegant updo. She smiled when appropriate, thanked people for their well wishes, and played the part of the blushing bride-to-be. But inside, something was changing. With each toast, each conversation about her perfect match with Nathaniel, each discussion of their future together, Camille felt a growing resolve. This wasn't her life. This wasn't her choice. It never had been. When Nathaniel clinked his glass to make a toast, Camille looked at him as if seeing him clearly for the first time. His perfect smile, his designer suit, his practiced charm, and beneath it all, the coldness of a man who saw her as an acquisition, not a partner. "To my beautiful bride," he said, raising his glass. "In 3 days, you'll make me the happiest man in Georgia." Everyone applauded. Camille smiled and sipped her champagne, while inside, a plan began to take shape. Later that night, as the mansion quieted, Camille sat at her desk and opened her laptop. She Googled Savannah Horse Rescue and found 3 possibilities. One of them, Coastal Equine Sanctuary, had a staff page. And there he was, Malik Turner, head trainer. Seeing his face, even in a small staff photo, made Camille's heart race. He looked the same, serious, handsome, with that hint of sadness in his eyes that had first drawn her to him. She memorized the address, then closed the laptop. The next day was a whirlwind of last-minute preparations. The wedding was to be held at St. John's Cathedral in town, with the reception back at the Davenport estate. Camille's bridesmaids, girls she'd known since childhood but had never been close to, arrived for the final dress fitting. They chattered about the wedding, about honeymoon destinations, about married life. Camille nodded and smiled, all the while thinking about bus schedules to Savannah. That night at dinner, with both families gathered around the table, Charles raised a toast. "To the union of the Davenport and Rhodes families," he said, beaming. "Together, we'll be a force to be reckoned with in this state." "Hear, hear," Richard Rhodes agreed, raising his glass. Camille looked around the table. Her parents, Nathaniel, his parents, all of them so pleased with themselves, so certain they were crafting the perfect future. None of them had asked what she wanted. None of them had ever really seen her. Malik had seen her. Malik had known her. Malik had loved her for herself, not for her name or what she could bring to a business deal. "Camille," Eleanor's voice broke into her thoughts. "Richard asked you a question." Camille blinked. "I'm sorry. What was that?" Richard Rhodes smiled indulgently. "I was asking about your plans for the east wing of the Savannah house. Nathaniel tells me you're thinking of making a home office." "Oh," Camille said. "Yes, something like that." "Good girl," Richard nodded. "A modern wife understands the importance of her husband's work." Camille took a large gulp of her wine. After dinner, Nathaniel cornered her in the hallway. "You seem distracted tonight," he said, his tone casual, but his eyes sharp. "Just wetting nerves," Camille said, the lie coming easily now. Nathaniel took her hands in his grip too tight to be comfortable. "I know these past few weeks have been difficult for you. Your mother told me about your little infatuation." Camille froze. "What?" With a stable hand, Nathaniel continued, his voice low. "Don't look so shocked, darling. Did you think Eleanor wouldn't tell me? We're going to be family, after all." Shame and anger flooded Camille. "That was private." "Nothing is private between husband and wife," Nathaniel said, his smile not reaching his eyes. "I decided to be understanding about it. A last little rebellion before settling down. It happens." Camille stared at him, speechless. "But now it's time to grow up," he continued, squeezing her hands painfully. "After we're married, I expect absolute loyalty. The road's name cannot be tarnished by scandal." "You're hurting me," Camille said, trying to pull her hand away. Nathaniel released her, his smile returning. "Sorry, darling. Just making myself clear. Tomorrow's the big day. Get some rest." He kissed her cheek and walked away, leaving Camille trembling in the hallway. In that moment, any doubt about what she needed to do vanished. She couldn't marry Nathaniel. She couldn't live this life. Even if Malik didn't want her anymore, even if she had to start over completely alone, she had to get away. Early the next morning, the day of the wedding, Camille's room became Grand Central Station. Hair stylists, makeup artists, the wedding coordinator, Eleanor, all coming and going, transforming Camille into the perfect bride. "You look like a princess," one of the bridesmaids gushed as Camille stood in her wedding dress, a custom creation of silk and lace that had cost more than some people's homes. "Thank you," Camille said, looking at herself in the mirror. She didn't recognize the woman who looked back at her. This polished, perfect creature with the updo and the carefully applied makeup wasn't her. It was a doll, dressed up to play a part in someone else's story. "It's almost time," Eleanor said, coming into the room. "The cars will be here in 20 minutes to take us to the church." Camille nodded, her heart pounding. "Could I have a moment alone? To collect my thoughts?" Eleanor looked surprised, but nodded. "Of course. But don't take too long. And don't sit down in that dress." When everyone had left, Camille looked around the room. Her childhood bedroom. The place where she had dreamed of a different life, a life of her own choosing. She went to her closet and pulled out the small bag she had packed the night before. A change of clothes, some cash she'd been saving, her passport. Quickly, she changed out of the wedding dress, hanging it carefully on a mannequin. Then she put on jeans, a simple blouse, and comfortable shoes. Clothes for running away. She took one last look around the room, at the life she was leaving behind. Then she opened the window and climbed out onto the trellis, just as she had done as a teenager sneaking out to parties. Camille made her way carefully down, then hurried across the garden to the small gate that led to the road. She had called a taxi the night before, asking it to wait at the corner out of sight of the house. It was there just as promised. "Savannah Bus Station," she told the driver, her heart racing with fear and exhilaration. As the taxi pulled away, Camille didn't look back. At the bus station, she bought a ticket for the next bus to Savannah, due to leave in 30 minutes. She sat in the waiting area, checking her phone every few minutes. It had been turned off since she left the house. Now, she turned it on to find 20 missed calls. From her mother, her father, Nathaniel, the wedding planner. She turned it off again. The bus arrived, and Camille boarded, taking a seat by the window. As it pulled out of the station, she felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. For the first time in her life, she was making her own choice, following her own heart. The journey to Savannah took 3 hours. Camille spent it looking out the window, watching the Georgia countryside roll by, thinking about what she would say to Malik when she saw him. Would he be happy to see her? Angry? Had he moved on already? She wouldn't blame him if he had. She had let him go, had chosen her family's expectations over their love. Even if it had been under duress, even if she had regretted it immediately, she had made that choice. Now, she was making a different one. The bus arrived in Savannah in the early afternoon. Camille took a taxi to the address she had memorized, Coastal Equine Sanctuary, on the outskirts of the city. It was a modest facility, nothing like the grand stables of the Davenport estate, but it was clean and well-maintained. Several horses grazed in paddocks, and a sign at the entrance explained the sanctuary's mission to rescue and rehabilitate abused and neglected horses. Camille paid the taxi driver and stood at the gate, suddenly nervous. What if Malik didn't want to see her? What if he turned her away? But she had come too far to turn back now. Taking a deep breath, she walked through the gate and toward the main building. A woman in jeans and a t-shirt was coming out, carrying a bucket of feed. "Excuse me," Camille said. "I'm looking for Malik Turner." The woman looked her up and down. "He's in the back barn, working with a new rescue." "Are you a volunteer?" "No," Camille said. "I'm an old friend." The woman nodded. "Back barn is that way," she said, pointing to a building beyond the paddocks. Camille thanked her and started walking, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. The barn door was open. Camille paused at the entrance, letting her eyes adjust to the dimmer light inside. And there he was. Malik stood in the center of the barn, talking softly to a thin, nervous-looking bay horse. He looked the same, tall, strong, gentle. His voice was the same too, that deep, soothing tone that had always made Camille feel safe. She must have made a sound, because suddenly Malik looked up. Their eyes met across the barn. For a long moment, neither moved. Neither spoke. Then Malik handed the lead rope to someone Camille hadn't noticed, a woman with dark curly hair standing nearby. "Watch him for a minute," he said to her, not taking his eyes off Camille. He walked toward her slowly, as if he couldn't quite believe what he was seeing. "Camille," he said when he reached her, "what are you doing here?" She tried to speak, but tears filled her eyes instead. All the words she had rehearsed on the bus, all the speeches she had planned, vanished from her mind. "I couldn't do it," she said finally. "I couldn't marry him." Malik's expression was unreadable. "When? What did you leave?" "This morning," Camille said. "I was in my wedding dress. Everyone was there, and I just couldn't. I climbed out the window and ran." A flicker of something, surprise, hope, crossed Malik's face. "You left on your wedding day?" Camille nodded. "I had to find you. I had to tell you. I made the wrong choice, Malik. I never should have let you go." He looked at her for a long moment, his eyes searching hers. "Camille, do you have any idea what you've done? Your family, Nathaniel." "I don't care," she said fiercely. "I don't care what they think or what they do. I care about you, about us." The woman with the curly hair was watching them, the horse forgotten. Malik glanced back at her, then took Camille's arm and led her outside, away from curious eyes. "You can't just show up here and expect everything to be like it was," he said, his voice low. "You made your choice." "I know," Camille said, "and I'm sorry, but I'm making a different choice now. The right one." Malik ran a hand over his face. "It's not that simple." "Why not?" Camille asked. "I love you. That's simple. And what about your life? Your family? Everything you've ever known? None of that matters if I can't be with you," she said. Malik looked at her, and she could see the battle in his eyes. Hope fighting with caution, love fighting with fear. "I don't have anything to offer you," he said finally. "Just this." He gestured around at the modest sanctuary. "This is my life now. It's all I want," Camille said. "A real life. With you." Before Malik could respond, a voice called his name. They both turned to see the curly-haired woman approaching. "Sorry to interrupt," she said, "but Thunder's getting anxious again." Malik nodded. "I'll be right there." The woman looked at Camille with open curiosity. "Hi there," she said, extending her hand. "I'm Dri, Malik's colleague." Camille shook her hand, trying to hide her relief. "Colleague, not girlfriend, not wife." "Camille," she said, "I'm an old friend of Malik's." Dri's eyes widened. "Are you Camille?" she asked. "He talks about you." Camille's heart skipped a beat. "He does." Dri smiled softly. "All the time." She turned to go back to the barn, then paused. "Whatever happened between you two," she said, "he's not over it. Just so you know." When she was gone, Camille looked at Malik, hope blooming in her chest. "You talk about me?" Malik looked uncomfortable. "Sometimes." "What do you say?" He was quiet for a moment. "I say that I met a woman who made me believe in something I thought was impossible. And then I lost her. Tears filled Camille's eyes again. You didn't lose me. I'm right here. Malik stepped closer, reaching out to touch her face. His hand was warm against her cheek. For how long? He asked. Until you realize what you've given up? Until you miss your old life? I won't, Camille insisted. That life, it wasn't mine. It was what everyone else wanted for me. This is what I want. You are what I want. Malik's eyes were full of longing, but still hesitant. Your family will come looking for you. Let them, Camille said. I'm not a child. They can't force me to go back. But they can make things very difficult, Malik pointed out. For both of us. Camille took his hands in hers. Then we'll face it together. Please, Malik, please give us another chance. He looked down at their joined hands, then back at her face. Are you sure, Camille? Really sure? Because I can't go through losing you again. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, she said. And then, finally, Malik smiled. That rare, beautiful smile that had always made Camille's heart soar. I still love you, he said softly. I never stop. I love you too, Camille whispered. Malik pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her. Camille buried her face in his chest, breathing in his scent, feeling at home for the first time in weeks. When they pulled apart, Malik looked serious again. It won't be easy, he warned. Starting over, building a life together. I know, Camille said, but it will be our life. Our choice. Malik nodded, then leaned down to kiss her. It was a gentle kiss, a homecoming, a promise. When they broke apart, they were both smiling. So, Malik said, taking her hand, what now? Camille looked around at the sanctuary, at the horses grazing peacefully in the paddocks, at the simple beauty of the place. Now, she said, we start writing our own story. Hand in hand, they walked back toward the barn, where Dree was waiting with the nervous horse. As they approached, Camille's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out to find a text from an unknown number. We know where you are. Coming to bring you home. Camille showed the message to Malik, fear gripping her heart once more. It's my mother, she said. Or Nathaniel. They found me. Malik's jaw tightened, but his eyes were resolute. Let them come, he said. This time, I'm not letting you go without a fight. Camille nodded, slipping the phone back into her pocket. Whatever came next, they would face it together. She had made her choice. This time, in the full light of day, with her whole heart. And she wasn't going to take it back. The hours that followed were tense. Camille and Malik stayed at the sanctuary, both unwilling to run any further. This was Malik's home now, his work, his life. And Camille was determined to stand her ground. You don't have to do this, Malik told her as they sat in the small office of the main building. You could go somewhere else, somewhere they won't find you. Camille shook her head. No more running. No more hiding. I'm exactly where I want to be. Dree had been filled in on the situation and offered her support. My brother's a lawyer, she told him. He can be here in an hour if you need him. Thank you, Camille said, touched by the kindness of this woman she'd just met. As the afternoon wore on, Malik tried to continue his work with the horses, but his mind was clearly elsewhere. Camille helped where she could, learning the routines of the sanctuary, meeting the other staff members. It was so different from the life she'd left behind. Here, people wore what was comfortable, said what they meant, and worked with their hands. There was dirt and sweat and honest fatigue. And yet, Camille felt more at home than she ever had at the Davenport mansion. Around 5 o'clock, the sound of cars on the gravel driveway alerted them to visitors. Malik and Camille exchanged a look. They're here, she said, her voice steady despite the fear fluttering in her chest. Malik took her hand. Remember, they can't force you to go anywhere. You're an adult. You make your own choices now. Camille nodded, squeezing his hand before they walked out to face whatever was coming. 3 cars had pulled up in front of the sanctuary. From the first emerged Eleanor and Charles Davenport, both looking furious and disheveled, so unlike their usual polished appearance. From the second came Nathaniel, his face a mask of cold anger. The third car held 2 men Camille didn't recognize, likely security hired by her father. Camille Davenport. Eleanor's voice cut through the quiet afternoon. What in God's name do you think you're doing? Camille stepped forward, still holding Malik's hand. Hello, Mother. Father. Nathaniel. Get in the car, Charles ordered, pointing to the vehicle they'd arrived in. Now, We'll discuss this shameful behavior at home." "No," Camille said simply. The single word seemed to shock her father more than any argument could have. Charles Davenport was not a man accustomed to hearing no. "Camille," he said, his voice dangerously low, "you have embarrassed this family beyond belief. You left your fiancée at the altar. The governor was there. Everyone was there." "I'm sorry for the embarrassment," Camille said, "but I'm not sorry for leaving. I couldn't marry Nathaniel. I don't love him." Nathaniel stepped forward, his handsome face twisted with anger. "Love? This isn't about love. This is about duty, about commitments made. Commitments you broke when you ran off like some lovesick teenager." His eyes shifted to Malik, cold and dismissive. "And for what? Him? A stable hand." Malik tensed beside her, but didn't respond to the insult. "Yes," Camille said firmly. "For him. For myself. For a chance at real happiness instead of a lifetime of pretending." Eleanor looked around at the modest sanctuary with undisguised disdain. "You think you'll be happy here? Mucking out stalls? Living in some rundown apartment? Don't be naive, Camille. You've never worked a day in your life." "Then it's time I learned," Camille replied. Charles had been studying Malik with narrowed eyes. Now he spoke directly to him. "Young man, I don't know what you think you're doing with my daughter, but it ends now. I'm prepared to be generous. $20,000 to walk away. Never contact her again." Malik's face hardened. "I'm not for sale, Mr. Davenport. And neither is Camille." "50,000, Charles countered, as if he hadn't heard. "Dad, stop it," Camille cried. "This isn't about money. Everything is about money," Charles said coldly. "Especially for people like him." "What's that supposed to mean?" Malik asked, his voice controlled, but with an edge of anger. Charles didn't answer the question. Instead, he turned to one of the men who had accompanied them. "Davis, show Mr. Turner the file." The man stepped forward, handing Malik a manila folder. Confused, Malik opened it. Camille watched as his expression changed from confusion to shock to anger. "What is it?" she asked. Malik handed her the folder. Inside were photographs of them together at the stables, riding by the lake, kissing in the garden. There were also printouts of Malik's Navy record, his employment history, even his bank statements. "You had us investigate it?" Camille asked, horrified. "Of course we did," Nathaniel said smoothly. "Did you think we'd just let you throw away everything for some fling?" Malik's face was grim. "So what's the play here? Blackmail? Threats? Just information," Charles said. "For example, did you tell my daughter about your arrest record?" Camille looked at Malik in surprise. "Arrest record?" Malik's jaw tightened. "It was a protest in college. Civil disobedience. The charges were dropped. This time," Charles said. "But who knows what might happen if certain concerns were raised with local law enforcement." "Are you threatening him?" Camille asked, anger replacing her shock. "I'm stating facts," Charles replied. "Mr. Turner's employment at this sanctuary could become complicated if his background were scrutinized more closely. And I have friends in many places, including the Savannah Police Department." Camille felt sick. Her father was threatening to frame Malik, to destroy his life, all to get her to come home. "That's enough," came a new voice. Everyone turned to see Dree standing behind them, her brother beside her. He was a tall man in a crisp suit, carrying a briefcase. "I'm Jason Miller," he said, stepping forward. "I'm an attorney, and it sounds like Mr. Turner and Miss Davenport might need my services." Charles scoffed. "This is a family matter. It doesn't concern you." "Threatening a man's livelihood and freedom very much concerns me," Jason replied calmly, "as does attempting to coerce an adult woman against her will." "No one is coercing anyone," Eleanor said quickly. "We're simply trying to bring our daughter home." "Your adult daughter," Jason emphasized, "who has clearly stated she doesn't wish to go with you. And Mr. Davenport, just so we're clear, I recorded your threats against Mr. Turner on my phone. That's grounds for criminal charges." Charles's face reddened. "You were eavesdropping on a private conversation?" "I was gathering evidence of attempted coercion and blackmail," Jason corrected. "Now, I suggest you all leave before this situation escalates further." Eleanor stepped forward, ignoring the lawyer and speaking directly to Camille. "Darling, please, think about what you're doing. We can fix this. We can issue a statement about cold feet, about needing time. People will understand. I don't care what people understand, Camille said. I care about being true to myself. To my heart. Your heart, Eleanor repeated, as if the word were foreign to her. What about your father's career? What about our standing in the community? What about the roads deal? Those are your concerns, Camille said. Not mine. Not anymore. Nathaniel had been watching the exchange with growing anger. Now he moved closer to Camille, his voice low and menacing. You think this is some fairy tale? That you can run off with the hired help and live happily ever after? Wake up, Camille. Look around you. He gestured to the sanctuary. This is beneath you. He is beneath you. Malik stepped between them. That's enough. I think you should leave now. Nathaniel's eyes flashed with hatred. Or what? You'll make me? Go ahead, prove what kind of man you really are. He's twice the man you are, Camille said, moving to stand beside Malik. He's kind and honest, and he loves me for who I am, not for what I bring to a business deal. Love, Nathaniel sneered. So naive, so childish. If loving someone is childish, Camille said, then I'd rather be childish than be like you, cold and calculating and incapable of real feeling. Nathaniel's face hardened. Fine, have your little rebellion. But don't come crawling back when you realize what a mistake you've made. The only mistake I made, Camille said, was almost marrying you. Nathaniel looked like he wanted to say more, but Charles put a hand on his arm. Let's go, he said. This isn't over. As they turned to leave, Eleanor made one last appeal. Camille, please. You're my only daughter. Don't throw away everything for this. For the first time since they'd arrived, Camille felt a twinge of sympathy for her mother. Eleanor had been raised the same way she had, to put duty first, family legacy above personal happiness. I'm not throwing anything away, Mom, she said gently. I'm choosing something better, something real. Eleanor's face crumpled for a moment before she composed herself. Without another word, she turned and followed Charles and Nathaniel to the cars. As they drove away, Camille felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. She had faced them. She had stood her ground. She had chosen her own path. Malik put his arm around her. You okay? She nodded. I think I actually am. Jason, the lawyer, approached them. They won't give up easily, he warned. People with that kind of power and privilege rarely do. What should we do? Malik asked. For now, document everything. If they make any more threats, call me immediately. He handed Malik a business card. And, Miss Davenport, you might want to consider a restraining order. Against my own parents? Camille asked, the thought painful despite everything. Just a precaution, Jason said. Think about it. After he left, Camille and Malik went back to work at the sanctuary. There were horses to feed, stalls to clean, routines to maintain. Life went on. That evening, they sat on the porch of Malik's small apartment above the sanctuary office. It was nothing like the Davenport mansion, just 2 rooms with simple furniture. But as they watched the sunset over the fields, Camille felt a peace she had never known. What are you thinking? Malik asked, his arm around her shoulders. I should have done this months ago, she said. Left that life behind. Chosen you. Chosen us. He kissed the top of her head. You're here now. That's what matters. But they'll be back, Camille said. My father doesn't give up easily. Neither do I, Malik replied. Neither do we. Camille snuggled closer to him. I was thinking maybe I could work here too. Learn about horse rehabilitation. Make myself useful. Malik smiled. The sanctuary can always use more help. And you're good with the horses. I don't know much, Camille admitted, but I want to learn. I want to build something real, something meaningful. We will, Malik promised. Together, that night, they slept in each other's arms, both exhausted from the emotional day, but at peace with their choice. The next morning, Camille woke early. Malik was already gone. He always started work at dawn. She made coffee in the small kitchen, then went outside to find him. The sanctuary was quiet in the early morning light. A few of the staff were moving about, feeding horses, preparing for the day. Camille nodded to them as she passed, already feeling like she belonged here more than she ever had in the society circles of her old life. She found Malik in one of the paddocks, working with a beautiful chestnut mare. The horse was skittish, moving away whenever Malik tried to approach. "She's new," came a voice beside Camille. She turned to see Dree watching from the fence. "What happened to her?" Camille asked. "Abuse," Dree said simply. "Her owner used to beat her when she didn't perform well at shows. By the time we got her, she was terrified of people." Camille felt a surge of anger at anyone who could hurt an animal that way. "Will she recover?" "With time," Dree said. "With patience. With love. Most broken things can heal if they're given the chance." Camille nodded, understanding that Dree wasn't just talking about the horse. "Thank you," she said, "for yesterday, for your brother's help." Dree smiled. "You make him happy. I haven't seen Malik smile like that since he got here." "He makes me happy too," Camille said. They watched in silence as Malik continued to work with the mare, his movements slow and gentle, his voice a soothing murmur. "He told me about you, you know," Dree said after a while. "Not everything, but enough. About having to let you go. About how much it hurt him." Camille felt a pang of guilt. "I hurt him. I let him walk away because I was afraid. But you came back," Dree pointed out. "That takes courage. Or desperation," Camille said with a small smile. Dree laughed. "Sometimes they're the same thing." As they watched, the chestnut mare finally allowed Malik to touch her nose. It was a small victory, but an important one. "Progress," Dree said. "See? Nothing's ever hopeless." 3 months later, Camille had settled into life at the sanctuary. She worked alongside Malik and the others, learning everything she could about horse care and rehabilitation. Her hands, once soft and manicured, were now calloused from work. Her designer clothes had been replaced by jeans and t-shirts. Her hair, once styled daily, was usually pulled back in a simple ponytail. She had never been happier. News of her scandalous departure from her wedding had faded from local gossip. Charles Davenport had gone ahead with his campaign announcement, with Eleanor and Nathaniel by his side, presenting a united front to the world. There was no mention of a runaway daughter. Camille had tried to contact her parents several times, hoping for reconciliation, but her calls went unanswered. It hurt, but she understood. In their world, what she had done was unforgivable. One afternoon, she was working in the office, updating the sanctuary's outdated website, when her phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello," she answered cautiously. "Camille? It's Martha." Camille's heart leapt at the sound of the housekeeper's voice. "Martha, how are you? How did you get this number?" "Your friend Lisa gave it to me. I hope that's okay." "Of course it is," Camille said. "It's so good to hear from you." "I can't talk long," Martha said, her voice low, "but I thought you should know. Your father had a heart attack last night." Camille's blood ran cold. Is he okay?" "He's stable. In the hospital. Your mother's with him." "Thank you for telling me," Camille said, her mind racing. "Which hospital?" "I'll come right away." Martha gave her the information, then had to hang up quickly, afraid of being caught calling the family's black sheep. Camille immediately went to find Malik. He was in the training ring with one of the rescue horses. "My father had a heart attack," she told him. "I need to go to him." Malik didn't hesitate. "I'll drive you. Let me just finish up here." An hour later, they were on the road to Augusta, where Charles had been taken to a specialized cardiac unit. "Are you sure you want me to come in with you?" Malik asked as they pulled into the hospital parking lot. "It might make things more tense." Camille took his hand. "We're together now, in everything. If they can't accept that, it's their problem, not ours." Malik nodded, though he looked worried. "Just remember, whatever happens in there, we go home together." Home. Their small apartment above the sanctuary office. The life they were building day by day. Together, Camille agreed. Inside the hospital, they found Charles's room easily. Eleanor was sitting beside the bed, holding her husband's hand. She looked up when Camille entered, her face registering shock, then anger, then resignation. "Camille," she said stiffly. "How did you know?" "Martha called me," Camille said, moving to the other side of the bed. Her father looked smaller somehow, vulnerable in the hospital gown with tubes and wires connecting him to various machines. "How is he?" "Stable," Eleanor said. "The doctor says he'll recover, but he needs to reduce stress. Change his lifestyle." Camille nodded, relief washing over her. "I'm glad." Eleanor's eyes moved to Malik, who stood quietly by the door. I see you brought him. His name is Malik, Camille said. And yes, I brought him. We're together now, Mom. That's not going to change. Eleanor pressed her lips together, but said nothing more. Charles stirred then, his eyes fluttering open. He looked confused for a moment, then focused on Camille. Camille, he said, his voice weak. Is that really you? It's me, Daddy, she said, taking his hand. I came as soon as I heard. Charles's eyes filled with tears, something Camille had never seen before. Her father, always so strong, so controlled, was crying. I thought I'd never see you again, he said. Of course you would, Camille replied, her own eyes welling up. I'm still your daughter, no matter what. Charles noticed Malik then. His expression hardened slightly, but he was too weak for real anger. You're still with him? Yes, Camille said simply. I love him. Charles closed his eyes for a moment. The night you left, he said slowly, I was so angry, so humiliated. I wanted to find you, to bring you back, to make you do what was expected. I know, Camille said. But then, Charles continued, as the weeks passed, I started to wonder, had I ever asked you what you wanted? Had I ever considered your happiness above the Davenport name, the family legacy? Camille was stunned. This was not what she had expected to hear. And the answer was no, Charles said. I never did. Your mother and I, we thought we knew what was best. We thought we were giving you everything. But we were really just continuing a cycle that had been going on for generations. Eleanor looked shocked. Charles, you need a rest. Don't upset yourself. No, Eleanor, he said. I need to say this. I might not get another chance. He turned back to Camille. I'm not saying I approve of your choice. I'm not saying I understand it. But this heart attack, it makes a man think about what really matters. And what matters to me, at the end of the day, is that my daughter is alive and well. Even if she's not living the life I wanted for her. Tears streamed down Camille's face. Daddy, I'd like to get to know the man my daughter chose, Charles said, looking at Malik. Someday, when I'm stronger. Malik stepped forward. I'd like that, sir. Eleanor looked between her husband and daughter, torn between old prejudices and the fear of losing her family completely. Finally, she sighed. Perhaps we could visit the sanctuary sometime. See this life you've chosen. It wasn't full acceptance. It wasn't forgiveness. But it was a start. 6 months later, on a warm Savannah evening, Camille stood outside the barn at Coastal Equine Sanctuary. The chestnut mare, now named Liberty, grazed peacefully nearby, her once fearful eyes now calm and trusting. Like Camille, she had healed. She had found her place. Camille was waiting for Malik, who had gone into town for supplies. They had plans to have dinner with Dree and her brother, who had become good friends in the months since Camille's arrival. A truck pulled into the driveway, but it wasn't Malik's. It was newer, shinier, a visitor. Curious, Camille walked toward it. When the driver's door opened, she was shocked to see Nathaniel step out. Nathaniel, she said, stopping a safe distance away. What are you doing here? He looked different, thinner, less polished. His eyes had a haunted quality she'd never seen before. I had to see you, he said, to see if it's true. If what's true. If you're really happy here, he said, gesturing around at the sanctuary. In this place. With him. Camille studied him, trying to understand. Why does it matter to you? Nathaniel ran a hand through his hair. A nervous gesture she'd never seen him make before. Because I can't stop thinking about it. About you walking away. About what that means. It means I made a choice, Camille said. The right choice for me. But was I really that bad? Nathaniel asked. And for the first time, she heard genuine pain in his voice. Was marrying me really so terrible that you had to run away? Camille felt a surprising pang of sympathy. It wasn't about you, Nathaniel. Not really. It was about me. About what I wanted versus what everyone else wanted for me. And you want this? He asked, looking around at the modest sanctuary. This simple life? These common people? Yes, Camille said without hesitation. This is where I belong. Where I can be myself. Nathaniel was quiet for a moment. I'm engaged again, he said finally, to Jessica Huntington. Her father owns half the shipping lanes on the East Coast. Congratulations, Camille said, unsurprised that he had moved on so quickly to another advantageous match. She's everything I should want, Nathaniel continued. Beautiful, well-connected, properly brought up. But, Camille prompted, sensing there was more. Nathaniel looked at her, really looked at her, perhaps for the first time. But she doesn't challenge me. She doesn't have that fire you always had, the one I tried to extinguish instead of appreciate. Before Camille could respond, she heard another vehicle approaching. Malik's truck pulled in beside Nathaniel's. Malik got out, instantly alert when he saw who was there. "Everything okay?" he asked, coming to stand beside Camille. "Fine," she assured him. Nathaniel was just leaving. Nathaniel looked between them, at the easy way they stood together, at the love evident in their body language. Something in his expression shifted, a realization, perhaps, of what he had never had with Camille. "Yes," he said, "I was just leaving." He turned to go, then paused. "For what it's worth," he said without looking back, "I think you made the right choice." And then he was gone, driving away from the sanctuary and out of their lives. Malik put his arm around Camille. "What was that about?" "Closure, I think," Camille said. "For him, maybe for me too." They walked back toward the barn, where they could see Dree approaching with a woman they didn't recognize. "Who's that with Dree?" Camille asked. Malik squinted in the fading light. "Not sure. A new volunteer, maybe?" As they got closer, Camille saw that the woman was holding Malik's hand. She felt a moment of confusion, of doubt. Then the woman turned and smiled. "Are you Camille?" she asked. "He talks about you." Camille's heart thundered in her chest as she looked at Malik, questions in her eyes. And he looked back, with the steady gaze of someone who had never wavered, not in his love for her, not in his belief in them. "This is my cousin Tanya," he explained. "She's visiting from Atlanta. I wanted to surprise you." Relief and joy washed over Camille. She extended her hand to Tanya. "It's wonderful to meet you. Any family of Malik's is family of mine." Family. The word had new meaning now. It wasn't about legacy or obligation or silent submission. It was about love, choice, freedom. As they all walked toward the house together, Camille looked around at the sanctuary, at the rescued horses finding new hope, at the simple buildings, at the wide-open sky above, at Malik beside her, solid and real in hers. This was the life she had chosen, not in silence, but with her whole heart speaking loudly and clearly. And she would choose it again every day for all the days to come.